LOL, is this guy a flatter? I don't know. Are you a glober? Well, most people are globers by default, right? Because it's what we're taught to believe with no evidence. When you walk into your kindergarten class and there's a globe, on the desk, you're not taught why we think it's a globe. You're just taught it's a fucking globe. And then maybe a few years later you learn some more about why, how the globe and the gravity and all that works. But it's the biggest dogma. The globe is the biggest dogma and religion on the planet, probably. I'd probably safe to say. And people think, oh my God, what are you talking about? Are you saying that the earth is flat? No, I'm not saying the earth is flat. What I'm saying is most people believe in the globe on the basis of pure blind faith. They don't know, they don't understand the science behind it. How we proved it was a globe is pure faith. People don't actually understand the science. And by the way, my first grade teacher told me so. That's not a scientific argument. That's not a scientific argument. Well, everyone believes it's a globe, bro. That's not a scientific argument. So I'm not even a flat earther. I just want good arguments for the globe. That's all. And most people don't even know. Are there good arguments for the globe? Right now I'm 50-50. Because I want to be a true skeptic. I want to be truly pro-science. I want to be a true skeptic. So I actually don't want to just blindly believe either side. So right now I'm pretty much 50-50 right now. I'm 50-50. Well, David Savage asked, how do you explain the curve of the lunar eclipse? Well, that's a fine question. And it's a common one that globers will ask because they love to throw out all the standard things they've heard, fleetingly while watching space documentaries or, in kindergarten, first, second grade when they were first learning shit. But I have a question for you, David, and that is, why could I see a lighthouse from 13.8 miles away through my binoculars, and it appeared pretty much looked like the whole lighthouse was visible, even though, according to Earth curvature calculations, it should have been obscured by roughly 70 feet of curve, of water curve, big ocean curve. So, hey man, that's a good question. How do you explain the curved look shadow on the moon? Hey, that's a great question. You know what else is a good question? Why could I see a lighthouse from 13.8 miles away that was supposed to be obscured by 70 feet of a bulging ocean? So again, this is why I'm 50-50. I don't really know what the shape of the planet is. I really don't. I'm sorry. David says because the earth is not a perfect ball. So don't tell me you're going with the whole it's a pear-shaped oblate spheroid now. Fractal Truth says, haha, totally wrong on that math, brah. Really? Because I got those calculations from a conspiracy debunking website that hates flat earthers and is always trying to debunk flat earthers. I use calculations from the debunking websites. Metabunk.org has a curvature calculator. Look it up. Fractal Truth continues to insist that it is not 70 feet at 13 miles. Well, then please enlighten me, because I use curvature calculator from a debunking anti-flat earth website. It was roughly 70 feet. I don't remember the exact amount. It was roughly 70 feet. But if you consider refraction, because there's also a refraction calculator you can add on, if you take into account standard refraction, I think it was around 60 feet. Still, I can see the whole fucking lighthouse. Pretty much. So I've had multiple people tell me the math is wrong, dude. You don't even know what you're doing. And these are usually people who are very new to flat earth and don't know that there's actual calculators from the debunkers that anyone can go use. They think it's just a bunch of crazy flat earthers in their basements doing poor math. No, I'm using the debunker's calculator, bro. So if you think my calculations are wrong, then you're saying that the flat earth debunker's calculator is wrong. Are you willing to go that far, sir? Are you willing to make that leap, sir? If so, you need to go take it up with Mick West over at metabunk.org, because it's his calculator, not mine. David, what are you talking about, man? You say, well, you have to look at depths of the ocean. Nothing underwater is a flat surface. I don't think the underwater surface of the ocean floor has any impact on the surface of the water. Now, if you're talking, because the water, I think generally is level, and it's consistent with the curvature of gravity. This is the mainstream theory, anyways. If anything, you should be asking me. I think this is what you're trying to get at. What's the sea level of the lighthouse? Meaning, how high was the lighthouse above the ground, and how high was I above sea level? I think that's what you're getting at here. And I think they're roughly the same. I mean, Florida is a very flat peninsula. And David Savage says, explain waterfalls. You mean gravity? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, they say gravity is pulling everything down. It's an interesting thought. Interesting thought. Yeah, and then, the flat earthers will say that gravity is pretty much just density and buoyancy. So if you drop a sponge, if let's say you're standing over a pool and you drop a sponge through the air, the sponge will fall, it'll hit the surface of the water on your pool, and suddenly the sponge stops falling. Again, I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know if this density buoyancy shit is sensible. I'm just telling you what I've heard from flat earthers. Gravity, apparently, it'll pull the sponge down, but it won't pull it down through the water. So I guess I'm not even sure if that's a consistent one. That's just what I heard the other day. I don't even fucking know. I don't know about that shit. All I know is I went out and I performed an actual experiment, albeit informal. And I can see pretty much the entire lighthouse. What? David Savage, what are you talking about, homie? No, if the water is meant to be flat by the flat earth theory, then how do tall waterfalls keep going? Dude, I was standing on a bay, on a coastline, looking over an ocean. The only thing separating me from the lighthouse was an ocean. There weren't cliffs and water. I mean, maybe I'm not understanding you. Okay, Fractal Truth up in the chat. Fractal, he is here to debunk Metabunk. So Fractal, all up in the chat. He is here to debunk metabunks.org's curvature calculator. And he says it's about 8 inches drop per mile. Therefore, 13 miles will be about 8 feet. Sorry, sir, you're smoking crack. It's 8 inches per mile squared. It's an exponential drop. You have to square it per mile, every mile. 8 inches per mile squared. So again, Fractal Truth is asserting that Mick West of Metabunk has a flawed curvature calculator. I haven't seen the new Avengers movie. I heard Wakanda's in it, but I haven't seen it. So David Savage, you say that you're talking about the theory of flat Earth in general. Okay. Well, no, of course there's I mean, you're obviously trolling, bro. Flat earthers aren't denying that there's hills and mountains. What they're denying is a gravity-bound spherical ball. A gravity-bound spherical ball. I never said the Earth is this perfect sphere. I don't know what you're talking. I mean, you're trying to basically say that the curvature calculator can't be accurate because you're trying to say the Earth curvature calculations can't be accurate because the Earth is not a perfect sphere. So maybe that up and down, maybe that bulge of the Earth is just more bulged than other areas. That might be true, my friend. But if what you're saying is true, then that means that Mick West, a flat Earth debunker, a guy who doesn't believe pretty much any conspiracies, the guy who runs the website metabunk.org, that would mean that his curvature calculator is wrong. So go take it up with the flat Earth debunkers. Somebody says if the Earth was flat, why is there magma chambers below the Earth's crust? Then what is below the magma chambers? Has anybody ever seen those magma chambers? It's an incredible theory. It's a wonderful theory that there's magma chambers at the core of the Earth's. There's a giant hot core at the center of the Earth. That's an incredible speculation at best. Has anybody ever dug to the center of the Earth and put a camera down there? How do they know that? What, because volcanoes? I just don't. I want to see more than just hypothesis. Somebody asked, how haven't planes flown off the edge yet? Some flat earthers will tell you that there is a dome surrounding. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's the dome, so I guess that's why they can't fly off the edge. How many actual? I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. So again, I don't want to ridicule the guy who was questioning my math. The thing is that I've experienced many comments like those before, ever since I went out and did the lighthouse. I had another guy who was so confident in his math skills. He was like, your calculations are all wrong. And I'm like, okay, I mean, can you show me how it's wrong? He's like, I'm going to show you how it's all wrong. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm wrong, then the Metabunk guy is wrong. So that means the debunkers are wrong. And I don't think I ever heard back from the guy because he actually went and checked the math and he probably realized that that's the official numbers. So, I mean, like, man, if you're going to arrogantly assert that my math is wrong, at least do the math before you tell me the math is wrong. But again, this is why I find the flat earth topic so interesting, because most people who dismiss the flat earth, they haven't even looked into it. So they're literally just dismissing it without any actual investigation, which is the height of ignorance. Somebody says if this magical force of gravity existed, we would all be stuck to the ground and wouldn't be able to move. I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, oh crap, my battery is running fucking low. Forgot to plug it in. That was a close one, because it gives you a warning and then it turns off like 10 seconds later. So, all right, we're still here. Yeah, so that's what I find that interesting. So let me get this straight. So gravity is powerful enough that according to the Globers, it attaches our atmosphere. The entire atmosphere is attached to the Earth, and it spins with the Earth. The actual gravity, the actual atmosphere, the air, the atmosphere itself is the whole thing actually spins perfectly with the Earth. With the actual terra firma, the actual terrain of the Earth. As the terrain of the Earth spins, the air molecules in the atmosphere also spins with the Earth. So gravity is powerful enough. Is the moon also wrapped up in the Earth's gravity? Is that true? I don't know if that's true or not. But if it is true that the moon stays in orbit around the Earth because the Earth is a larger mass, and mass attracts mass, as the theory of gravity asserts, then the moon, Earth's gravity is strong enough that the moon gravitates around the Earth. I could be wrong about this specific point, so if that's not why the moon goes around the orbit of the Earth, then ignore it. But if the reason the moon is in orbit around the Earth is because the Earth is a mass and the moon is attracted to the bigger mass of the Earth, so you're telling me that gravity is strong enough to keep the fucking moon in orbit, but it's not strong enough for me, an other piece of mass stuck to the ball? Why? I can jump up, birds can go flying high. Hey man, I'm not saying that gravity is a hoax, but I would like to get a good answer on that, and that answer might exist, but I don't know. Now people might say, oh, that's because gravity is relative to the environment. So relativity, that's such an important thing, man. They need relativity is very important. That's a very important patchwork in the fucking math to help it all make sense. But anyway, so I've heard people say that it's because the gravity is sort of relative. So yeah, I'm not even gonna go down that road because that's just, I'm just not ready to speak on it. Anyways, get an update on the chat here. Somebody says that my size is different compared to the moon. Yeah, but how am I even separate from the Earth? I'm just another bit of matter on the Earth. Am I not just part of the matter that makes up the Earth? What would the motive be for this big lie? That's a great question. I think in order to not scare people away, I like to first tell people the practical answer, which is that we believe the Earth was a globe hundreds of years before we had the technology, the rockets, to actually get really high up, the airplanes, the hot air balloons, the rockets. We believed there was a sphere hundreds of years before we had the technology to actually fucking get up there, turn around, and take a goddamn picture. So when generations of people believed there was a globe, without the true, straight up evidence of getting high up and taking a whole picture of it, when generations of people believe it, and it becomes ingrained, and it becomes dogma, and it becomes mainstream, and anybody who doesn't believe it is a flat earther, and you're ridiculed, and you're stigmatized, and you're shamed. When universities and professors and the science crowd confidently assert that they know everything and it's a globe and how could you ever question it? And it becomes money too. There's money in it. There's universities, there's textbooks. People pay money for degrees in physics and all other types of things that may be assuming that the earth is a sphere. So if it turns out the earth is not a sphere, then what does that say about that expensive degree you got studying all this stuff? It's a generational belief. And we believed it before we had the real straight up hardcore ability to get up high, get far enough away to see it in totality, and take a damn picture. So if you want to know a practical reason why, I would say it's because nobody wants to admit they were wrong about something that we've been believing generationally now, that it's become dogma almost. It's one of the most hilarious things to question. Society, and this is before the modern flat earth movement came, if you question the globe, it's like one of the most instant sources of ridicule. For some reason, questioning the globe is the most hilarious thing you could ever do. You can question whether or not we live in a simulation. You can question whether or not the very fucking world around you is a figment of your imagination. But if you question whether or not the earth is a globe or not, you're a complete retard. So there's one reason why nobody wants to. It's a generational belief, and I like to make the comparison to like how would religions react if aliens one day landed on Earth, and the mainstream proposition is that if aliens landed on Earth, it would invalidate a bunch of religions and the world would descend into chaos because people wouldn't be able to handle it. Everybody's religions would have been wrong. Who knows? They might not necessarily have to be wrong. Maybe you can interpret some passages in your holy book that there are aliens. But the point is that's a general consensus. So a lot of times people say, yeah, of course they're going to hide aliens. Because if of course the government's going to hide whether or not aliens exist. Because if aliens exist, then the whole world's going to descend into chaos because it'll invalidate so many religions and so many belief systems. So just like if aliens landed on Earth, the world would descend into chaos. If it turns out that we were just wrong for hundreds of years about the shape of the planet, centuries before we could actually get up and take satellite photos, you could imagine maybe in the 60s, when NASA finally got in those rockets and supposedly went up past low Earth orbit, went to the moon, turned around and took a picture, that was the first time we could actually turn around and get a good fucking picture of the Earth. Unless there were some other pretty high up satellites before that taking pictures. I don't know. But imagine the first satellite, the first thing that went up high enough to actually see it, and it turned around to take a picture, and what if it wasn't the shape that we've been assuming it was for hundreds of years? Or is NASA going to come back down with those photos and just dish it out to the public and be like, hey guys, we were wrong. We were wrong for assuming that the Earth is a globe. Okay? Eratosthenes' experiment, was supposedly supposed to be enough. 1,000, 2,000 years ago, I don't remember what it was. Eratosthenes' experiment with the well and the stick and the shadow. Supposedly that was enough to prove the shape. But now Neil Tyson is coming out and saying that technically it's not sufficient enough to prove the shape of the Earth. So one of the foundations of why we believed it was a globe for centuries turns out to be not necessarily the best proof. Is NASA going to come out and say, hey guys, we got it all wrong. The Earth is actually flat. Aliens do exist. You see, hey guys, aliens landed at Roswell. Here it is, guys. We're just going to tell everybody. It would send the world into, whether it's aliens landing or it's the Earth is not the way that we assumed it was for hundreds of years before we had the technology to get up and fucking prove it. It would be a similar reaction. So of course, why would they lie? Yeah, because they would fucking shatter people's belief systems. Honestly, for me, that's reason enough. That's reason enough to like understand why they would lie. Um, and what's really scary is that once you lie the first time about the shape of the planet and you send photos of a globe, NASA sends us photos of a globe. If they lied about it back then, they can never tell the truth. They can never tell the truth. Because if NASA ever comes out and says, "Oh look, we got new photos. We just took them in 2018, and look, it's actually flat," the first thing people are gonna ask is, "Well, then what the hell were those photos you gave us in the 60s of a globe? You lied to us." So they have to perpetuate the lie. And another crazy thing is that, let's assume that the moon landings were fake. If they were fake, and NASA never really went high enough to go far away enough to get a nice shot of the Earth, that means NASA had to create fake images of the Earth from space. And they could only use their imaginations. And they could only use what we've been assuming at the time for hundreds of years before that, what the shape of the Earth is, which is a sphere. So NASA could only make, in their little renditions, their fake renditions, if the moon landing was fake, they could only go based on what we'd been believing for hundreds of years, that it was a globe. So even if the moon landings were fake because we were just in a space race with Russia and we wanted to get there before them, so we faked it. Let's say 20 years later, they actually did get the technology to go up and go to the moon, and they went high up far enough, and then they finally determined, oh shit, it's not a sphere, it's something else. They could never tell you, they could never actually show you the actual way the Earth looks from far away in space, because it would invalidate the fake renditions they created for the moon landings. So they would have to perpetuate the lie forever. So again, a lot of hypotheticals. Now, another reason why they would lie about the shape of the Earth, I think a lot of people talk about like satanic pedophile elites that run things. There's this crazy idea. What if the heliocentric evolution, Big Bang cosmology is a religion? And what if it's a satanic religion? I mean, the whole cosmology of we're not the center of the universe, we're just a random space rock hurtling through space without a purpose. We came out of a pointless Big Bang that makes no causal sense, because if the universe exploded out of nothing, well, where did it come from? And now they're saying, oh, that's totally possible. It can come out of nothing. And that's fine. Don't question it, says Lawrence Krauss in his book, A Universe from Nothing, which I read a few years ago and laughed hysterically. I listened to his book, A Universe from Nothing, waiting for the explanation. It takes like 80% of the book. Finally, at the very end, Krauss tries to explain why, something from nothing just makes total sense, because that's the way the universe is, because quantum fluctuations in the vacuum and all this crazy shit. It's non-causal. It's causeless. It violates this Newtonian, mechanistic, predeterministic, billiard balls colliding in the universe, clockwork universe. It's a spontaneous universe, where things just pop up out of nothing without a prior cause, which to me just sounds crazy. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I am saying that that's basically hocus pocus. That's basically hocus pocus magic. Okay? There's no prior cause. So again, it's like what's his name? Who said it? That shroom guy that Joe Rogan loves so much. That shroom guy. Terence McKenna said, science is based on the principle of give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. And of course, that one free miracle is that the entire universe exploded into existence out of nothing without a prior cause. So science is really great at understanding causal relationships. Oh, the reason that this ball drops is because gravity pulls it down, and the reason it splashes against the water is because the buoyancy of the water, and the reason your car engine works is because the combustion engine and the this and these little particles here connect with that. They're so great at explaining causal mechanistic relationships within the confines of this broader causeless miracle where everything exploded out of nothing without a prior cause, which is what Lawrence Krauss says in his book, A Universe from Nothing. That we don't need causes anymore, bro. We don't need causes, bro. It just pops up out of nothing from a fucking quantum vacuum fluctuation. And hey, there's nothing to see here. It's totally normal, bro. Just nothing to see. It's funny. So yeah, give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. That's exactly it. And I'm sorry. I'm just not content with just focusing in on the little causal stuff and pretending that giant fucking miracle, something from nothing, that's as close to a miracle, magic, supernatural as you can get. Science, it's so funny how the mainstream scientism cult says that there's no such thing as miracles and the supernatural. None of that exists. Yet we're steeped in one gigantic supernatural universe where things pop up out of nothing without a prior cause. I mean, do you understand how crazy it is? And it's not like Krauss in his book, A Universe of Nothing. It's not like he's saying, oh, there might be a prior cause for where these quantum particles are arising from. We just haven't found it yet. No, he's saying there is no prior cause. It literally springs up from nothing. As far as I'm concerned, guys, that's a miracle. I mean, that's what we've always thought as the miracle or the supernatural or the miraculous or magic, violating causality, mechanistic causality, violating mechanistic causality. So, life is a big miracle. I did that video a few months ago. Life is a big ass miracle. And that's what atheists and the physicalists are. They're existential buzzkills. They're just here to kill the excitement that arises from an awareness of how magical our reality is. Because we literally sprang up from nothing without a prior cause. The rules of physics and the mechanistic laws that predestine us. Because if you're the product of a cause before you, then everything you're going to do after is just an effect of the prior cause. So it implies that you're a slave to something that happened before you. You have no control. It's the Newtonian clockwork billiard ball universe. You're just bouncing around pointlessly. So they're just here to kill your excitement. The exciting realization that maybe you do have free will. Maybe you're not just a piece of matter, billiard ball, stuck in the universe, acting out the will of a purposeless universe. That's why that stupid atheist moron did a reaction video. That video where I was saying the universe is a miracle, that got under the atheist skin. Because I had excitement and passion in that video. And that's what they're here. They're here to be an existential buzzkill. The truth, though, is that if it turns out that the heliocentric model is a hoax, if it turns out that the heliocentric model is bullshit, that turns out that maybe evolution isn't what we think it is, that maybe the universe isn't just a big explosion of pointlessness, just colliding rocks in a void. None of it matters, except for matter. That's the thing about the physicalists. Physicalists love matter. Nothing matters except for the matter that defines us. But ignore consciousness, the apparently immaterial subjectivity that allows us to experience matter to begin with. Just don't worry about that. We'll figure out consciousness eventually. Don't worry, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure out the very immaterial thing. You know, they'll probably say that it's not immaterial. They're going to find consciousness. I don't think you're going to find consciousness. You're not going to find consciousness. Good luck on that one, bro. The hard problem of consciousness. Good luck. So if it turns out that this whole heliocentric model is basically a hoax, or that it's not the way that we're told, or that there's something fundamentally wrong with it, then that basically means that it's a religious belief system that's not accurate. And you know, if a group of satanic elite pedophiles wanted to spoon feed a certain type of belief onto the masses that they control, what do you think they're gonna? What would a satanic elite prefer to spoon feed to the masses? That you live on a flat stationary plane, you're the literal center of the universe and everything revolves around us? Or you live on a spinning ball, it's all relative. What's up for you, what's down for you on one part of the globe is actually down for somebody else on the bottom of the globe. It's all relative. You're just a piece of rock spinning pointlessly through the universe. Nothing matters. There's no purpose. It's all an accident. You came from monkey animals. And the only thing that matters is physical matter. And the globe, the gravity-bound globe. What is the gravity-bound globe? The gravity-bound globe is a relativistic shape. The sphere is a relativistic shape. Again, a gravity-bound globe in North America, what's down for you is actually up for somebody in Australia or China on the other side of the globe. There is no universal, absolute up and down, left, right or wrong. So which one would a satanic elite prefer to spoon feed to the masses? The answer is pretty obvious. So why would they lie? Why would they lie? It would be the biggest lie, wouldn't it? Lying about the structure of the world we live in would be the biggest lie, wouldn't it? And if you're going to lie, why not lie big? If you're going to lie, why not lie big? And that's what I've wondered before. If you're going to come up, I've said this before, the biggest lie would have to be the most fundamental lie. And what could be more fundamental than the structure of the world we live in? So if you wanted to give the biggest lie to people, it also would have to be the most fundamental lie. What could be more fundamental than the structure of our universe and the very ground under our feet? The biggest lie would have to be the most fundamental lie. So why would they lie? Because they lie about everything else. So why wouldn't they lie about the ground under your feet? So I don't know. Again, I don't know if the earth is flat or round. I'm a confused man right now. I am conflicted. I don't know. I was happy, blindly believing it's a globe my whole life. So happy. My first grade teacher, a motherly figure, nurturingly telling me, it's a globe, Chris. It's a nice round ball. Everybody knows it. Don't question it. I was so happy. I was so happy. And then the flat earthers came along and threw a big fat monkey wrench. So again, I don't know if it's a globe. I don't know if it's flat. But I no longer wish to just blindly believe in the globe. You know, I'm pro-science. What can I say? I'm pro-science, bro. I'm pro-science and I'm pro-skepticism, and I no longer just want to believe in the globe because of blind faith, because other people told me. So I'm investigating the question. And hey, I did my own informal experiment. I was out on the bay. I saw the lighthouse from 13.8 miles away. It's supposed to be obscured by 70-some feet. according to the debunkers' calculations. And I can see it, so I want to know why I can see it. Could have been refraction. Yeah, it's refraction. The refraction makes a globe Earth look like a flat Earth. I mean, whoa, what a coincidence. What a coincidence in physics. Light bends, refraction happens, and it makes a curved Earth look like a flat Earth. It doesn't. It could have. The lighthouse could have been elevated. Could have been over here. Could have been over here. No, it just makes it look like it's directly in front of you. Wow, refraction is pretty special. That's pretty crazy. Let me get up to date in the chat here because I haven't even seen. I've been literally ranting for like 20 minutes. Chat probably exploded, malfunctioned. That's why I love my channel, bro. I go from a video about a bouncer defending himself against 3 violent women to talking about flat Earth, man. I mean, that's what we do, bro. David Savage writes, if Earth is flat, then why don't we still see a big light in the sky that literally lights up half the planet? Wouldn't we still see this big light still even in the dead of night? Well, David, that would be assuming, kind of like Eratosthenes did 1,000 years ago, whenever the hell it was. You would be assuming that the sun is really, really big and really far away. Flat earthers, on the other hand, will tell you that the sun is actually really a lot smaller and it's a lot closer. So it acts as a local light source over the surface of the earth. More like a spotlight than just a broad thing covering the whole thing. If the sun is way smaller than we're told and it's much closer, then that could easily explain why if it gets far away enough, you don't see it anymore. Now, could you, in theory, technically, shouldn't you be able to pull out a telescope and maybe zoom in onto the sun? You would think there's some truth to that. Now, the flat earthers will say it's perspective, lines of convergence. As things get far away enough, like if you're looking down a long hallway, the walls and the floor and the ceiling converge to a point. They seem to converge. So who knows, maybe eventually when things get far enough, they just disappear into this convergence line of dissipation where your sight just won't capture it. Now, can you technically zoom in with a telescope? I would imagine that might be possible. Has anybody conducted the experiment yet? I have no idea. So if you want to know why the sun, or rather why you don't see a big light in the sky, well, number one, why can't you just see the big light in the sky? It goes out of the zone of perspective, or the convergence line, goes out of that, and then why isn't it lighting up the whole planet all the time? Well, if it's a smaller light, then its light is not going to reach the entire planet all at once. And you know, when you get into like a lot of the weird coincidences with the moon, here's what's crazy. I'm supposed to believe that the moon and the sun only appear to be the same size because the sun is 400 times further away from where I'm standing on Earth than the moon is. And that the moon just also happens to be 400 times smaller than the sun. And that's why during a total solar eclipse, the sun and the moon appear to be the exact same fucking size. It's not because they're just the exact size. It's because of this incredible cosmic coincidence that the sun is 400 times further away from us than the moon is, but the moon just also happens to be 400 times smaller than the sun. So it just works out. Oh wow, that's a funny coincidence. So I'm supposed to swallow that hook, line, and sinker. But if I wonder, maybe the sun and moon are just the same size as they appear, I'm a crackpot, crazy maniac. We got Nicholas saying, "I'm glad we don't have such idiots in my country and hope my country does not turn out to be like America." Well, if you're talking about my ramblings on flat versus globe Earth, then you're just stupid. If you're talking about the 3 drunken females that attacked the bouncer, which is what the point of this video originally was, then okie dokie. Windows logo says that's just a coincidence. There is a thing called law of truly large numbers in mathematics, basically in your moon/sun comparison. There is a million things that could be similar. Still a big ass coincidence. I don't care what you tell me. Okay, you can just say, oh, well, the universe is infinite and there's infinite space rocks. So eventually you're going to have, eventually you're going to have a sun and moon that, despite being 400 gazillion times further away, also happens. I mean, get out of here, bro. I'm not interested in that fucking coincidence porn. Oh my goodness. Please, please, I'm done with the coincidence porn. Windows logo says, if the sun wasn't the size of the earth to us, would you say what a coincidence that they aren't the same size? Let me read that again. The sun wasn't the size of the earth to us, would you say what a coincidence that they aren't the same size? I'm talking about the total solar eclipse, where for the span of about 5 to 10 minutes, as the moon, which appears to be the exact same size of the sun, the moon passes in front of the sun. And for a brief moment, all goes still, all goes dark. The world is suddenly a different fucking place. The crickets start to sound, the birds stop chirping, everything comes to a stop, and you stare up at the sky, and you stare in awe at this perfectly spherical black hole that is opened up in the fucking cosmos. And you literally sit there and you're like, holy Christ. I was going to say holy crap. Then I'm like, holy Christ. So I said holy crap. Holy crap, holy Christ. What the fuck is going on? What am I? Where am I? It's like this incredible thing that happens by sheer coincidence. According to you, it's just the law of big ass numbers, yo. By the sheer coincidence, we have this incredible moment that unfolds before us. I don't know, man. Look, man, you want to believe in coincidence is fine. But according to the mainstream scientists now, the whole universe popped up out of nothing from a quantum vacuum, according to Lawrence Krauss. Nothing to see here, guys. There's no prior cause to particles that appear in our universe out of literally nothing with no prior cause. I'm done, man. I'm done with the hoax of the clockwork, predeterministic, or just matter universe. I'm done. For me, the science, the logic, just doesn't lead me there. Okay. Sorry, I meant the size of the moon and sun. Okay, fine. So if the sun wasn't the size of the moon, would you say that? No, I mean, I just wouldn't, because it's just ridiculous. I wonder if Mayleaf made some sales today because of my free plug of their tea. Louise asks, why does the sun set every day? Well, again, if you assume the sun is much smaller and closer to us, then that's actually how perspective works, human's perspective. Again, if you're looking down a long hallway, imagine the ceiling and the walls and the floor. They all converge. You've seen it, long hallway? I mean, fuck, it's happening right here in the live stream. Look at it. It's the same effect, basically. See how the images of me and the chat box are all... you look down a long hallway, everything is converging to the center. The ceiling it looks like the ceiling, as it gets further away, is actually coming down, and the floor looks like it's coming up. So if you want to know why something above you, as it gets further away, like the sun, would appear to come down, it could easily be perspective. The sun is up, and just like the ceiling above your head, the further it gets away, it appears to come down, but it's actually just going away. It's just the way sight works. So you want to know why there's a sunset? Maybe it's just it appears to come down, like the ceiling. It appears to come down, and because the sun, according to the flat Earth model, the sun is much smaller. As it gets further away, it also gets smaller, until finally it's just so far away, its light is no longer hitting you. I mean, hey, it's an alternative theory, and it sounds sensible within the frames of that little logical example. Why would the sun appear to set? I mean, if it was a smaller sun, if we just hypothetically assume that, and we take into account how perspective works and our sight, I can totally see that that's the way the sun might act. Magic Bronco, explain. Well, I guess he probably thought that was a stupid point. Or maybe not, I don't know. Stephen Bashim says, oh shit, it appears to slope down, but it just cycles back and forth. If you're talking about the sun setting, according to flat earthers, the sun is just going around the top of the flat plane. So as it appears to set over, how do I do this? As it appears to set behind the curve, flat earthers are saying that it's just moving further. It's just moving further and further and further and further and further and further and further until it just blinks out, because it's not that big. Just like in a hallway, ceiling comes down as it gets further away. That's what flat earthers say anyways. We got David Savage, but wouldn't the sun's size change? Wouldn't the sun be really small if we see it set? Same with the moon. Sun don't change size. Well, actually, the sun and moon do change size a lot due to the atmosphere. You ever seen a moon that's like 10 times bigger than it normally is? I imagine that's some type of lensing effect by the atmosphere. So the sun and moon do change sizes. What is the official size of the sun and the moon? All I know is that during a total solar eclipse, they appear to be like two coins stacked on top of each other, the sun and the moon. But in terms of the atmosphere, magnifying it, as you've probably seen the moon sometimes, is a really big ass moon. I don't think the moon is really any closer to us, any substantial closer amount. It's just atmosphere. So again, but wouldn't the sun's size change? I mean, the sun's always changing. Now you ask, wouldn't the sun be really small if we see it set? That's a good question. Now I have seen some videos that appear to show as the sun rises or sets, it does appear to get smaller. The question is it disappearing over the horizon line, or is it just getting so small? Now here's the thing about convergence. If you look down a really, really long hallway, I mean, look at it right here. In my little live stream, you can see this inception shit going on. I mean, as it just repeats and gets it, so it's hard to tell. I guess you're assuming that you've seen a sunset and that you specifically recall that the sun pretty much stayed the same size as it appeared to get cut in half and cut and just slowly appearing to disappear. If you've seen that, then that's very interesting. But I don't know if this whole law of perspective thing doesn't account for that. It very well might. It very well might account for that. Because as it, It's a tough one. I don't know. It's a good question. But hey, look, you seem to have so much skepticism to flat Earth. I would hope that you would apply that same skepticism to the shape, to a globe shape too. What I found is that a lot of people who believe in the globe, they've been forced to actually go back and actually read the science of how we came to conclude it was a globe to begin with. So people act very arrogant. I'm not talking about you, David. I just mean in general. People act very arrogant in their apparent knowledge about the globe, but most people don't know anything about the science behind the proofs, or even the proofs for that matter. Stephen Bashim, hope I'm not butchering your name, says, same with railroad tracks. They appear to disappear and get smaller in the distance. Yeah, I mean, railroad tracks are the same shit, yep. Maybe there is no objective reality, just subjective. Who knows, maybe. Hey, if it is true that quantum physics says, that that it's all subjective and it's in the eye of the beholder and consciousness plays a role, then that means that reality is only being generated for every conscious individual at that very moment when they're there conscious. So if you think about it, if reality is just a subjective consciousness computer machine, like quantum physics seems to indicate, then at any given moment, your experience of reality, and I think I think I got kind of inspired by this idea from YouTuber Jaronism. He was talking about something like this. At any given moment, your experience is just a dome on a flat plane. Like, as far as your personal subjective experience is concerned, you live on basically a flat plane, more or less. There's hills and stuff, but it's a terrain. You're definitely not going to see curvature as an individual just standing there, unless you're really, really high up. So I don't even think the tallest mountain is high enough to see curvature. You're just seeing a fairly flat plane with terrain, and you see, like, you look all around you, it's basically a 360 degree, and you have this sort of dome-looking sky above you. So maybe, and that's how the ancients, that's how they always depicted, a lot of them depicted reality as a flat plane with a dome. If the whole quantum physics consciousness thing is true and reality is generated subjectively for your individual experience as it's happening in the moment, then we're all just living in little subjective domes. Whatever, bro. We've gone crazy here. Fractal Truth says you can see refraction. I know Fractal, you've been Googling this whole time. Come on, I know it. You've been Googling flat Earth debunked. Oh man, that's true skepticism. So Fractal is back after originally asserting that my math was wrong even before he checked the math, and then he checked the math and his math was wrong. Fractal is back with hard-hitting facts to debunk and expose the flat Earth. Fractal is here to say you can see refraction in action by putting a pencil in a glass of water. I don't deny that refraction exists. In fact, I've seen flat earthers do fairly simple experiments that show that refraction and the atmospheric lensing magnification effects of refraction and the atmosphere acting as a magnifying lens, basically. If you have a model sun and you pull the sun back, you put like a magnifying screen lens up here, and you put a model sun behind it, and as you start to pull the sun back, like the flat earthers think that the sun is just moving away from you, not moving down, as you pull the sun back, the lens effect causes the sun to actually drop. Even though you're just pulling it back straight, the lens effect causes a very obvious dropping, and it actually looks like the stereotypical concept of a sun setting over a curved horizon, but it's just doing it over a flat plane. So again, that's the thing with flat earthers. They have a counter argument for fucking everything. My legs are hurting because I'm like sitting cross-legged. I gotta like stretch my legs out here. Yeah. Yeah, let me stretch my legs out. My legs fucking hurt. Ow. 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 Ow, my legs. Ow, my legs. You sit cross-legged long enough and like, Jesus Christ, that hurts. Like the blood stops circulating to your legs and it hurts. This shit. Just lying down here for a moment. Ow, that hurts. Yeah, I don't even know, man. It's just crazy. I love you, Fractal. I love you, bro. Um, David Savage says, sun and the moon on a flat earth don't make sense. Something bright and high enough to light up half of a flat earth can't be seen from the other flat side. No quote line of sight come into that. Um, well, I mean, if you think of it like this, I mean, from the east coast of America to the west coast, let's say from Florida to California, I mean, that's a fairly small chunk, relatively speaking. Yet sunrise is delayed by 3 whole hours. Um, there's a 3 hour time zone difference between the east coast of America and the west coast. That means you won't see a sunrise happen um, in California until 3 hours. That's a long time with 1,000 mile an hour spinning ball um, for the sun to finally come up. 3 hours. So, you talk about the sun being too big or that you would see. I don't know. I don't know. That's a big distance. Um, if you just take the time zone difference of 3 hours, if you just take the time zone difference of 3 hours, um, yeah, you would have. I mean, if the sun was much smaller and closer, um, yeah, I mean, I hope you get my point. I'm having a little bit of trouble articulating it, but let me read your comment again. The sun and the moon on a flat earth don't make sense. Something bright and high enough to light up half of a flat earth can't be seen from the other flat side. Right, so you're trying to say like the sun is so big that, it's just lighting up so much. How can you not see it? Yet a 3 hour difference exists. A 3 hour difference is all it takes for the East Coast to have a sunrise before the West Coast has a sunrise. I mean, how many Americas fit around the globe? Like, that's not the biggest landmass necessarily. I mean, maybe 5 North Americas fit around a globe? So, a 3 hour time difference. Anyways, I think you get my point, hopefully. Fractal Truth says we live close to each other. Let's collab on an experiment. How about this? Do you have a Nikon P900? Do you have? I need somebody in South Florida with a Nikon P900. Hey, I'll gladly do a collaboration experiment, my friend. Let's fucking do it. Assuming you're not like a crazy stalker or something. Who has a Nikon P900? scrolling up on behalf of Mr. Fractal. I live in Tampa Bay area. I watch the sunset at least once a week. The sun gets larger and goes under the horizon. It does not go to a pinpoint. Are you sure about that? I just want to make sure you're sure because people hallucinate. Kind of like when people say, oh, I was looking out my plane window. I was on a commercial airliner flying at 35,000 feet. I looked out my window. I've seen the curvature my whole life looking out windows. I've been on a million flights. Oh, shit. Turns out 35,000 feet is not high enough to see the curve from an airplane window. Oh, you were hallucinating. A lot of people hallucinate. People hallucinate shit. People hallucinate the globe. It's hilarious. So just make sure you weren't hallucinating. Go back and, really take a close look. Hey, maybe we can do an experiment between the east coast of Florida, where I'm at, and the west coast, where you're at. Maybe there's some type of experiment we can do. Man, this is one of the longest live streams I've ever done. 100%. I don't know, man. People hallucinate curvature. So I'm sorry, man. Tonight, go look at it tonight and then really look at it with a close and scrutinizing eye because people hallucinate curvature all the time. So you got to be really sure. Red's Rhetoric is in Florida. Yeah, I think I've heard that he is because he follows a lot of those rocket launches, shuttle launches. Red's Rhetoric, by the way, guys, is a flat Earth debunker. He's a YouTuber, by the way. Line of sight of something that bright to light up half a disk from the darkest point. Still can't see something so bright that it's literally lighting up the other half of the Earth. Well, first of all, I don't know if the sun is lighting up whole halves of the Earth. I mean, I guess it is on the globe model, right? But if that's true, then hold up, buddy. Hold up, buddy. If the sunlight is lighting up the whole half of the Earth, and you're trying to use that as proof that there's no way a small sun could light up the whole half of the Earth, but I think what you're not taking into account is I don't know. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know. No, I mean, because I'm conflicted right now between hypothetically going with the flat model and hypothetically going with the globe model in order to answer your question. Like, I would imagine that if we're going with the flat model with a closer sun, it's kind of like sunrise. Sunrise happens gradually, It's not like it just blinks from 1 second to the next. It doesn't just go daylight to nighttime from 1 second to the next. Though I will say, and this could be another one of these globe hallucinations, like people hallucinate seeing curvature from an airplane window when 35,000 feet is not high enough to see curvature, according to all the mainstream people now. I remember that before I even heard or thought about flat Earth, I remember that I sometimes I would watch sunrises, and I would actually, with an inquisitive mind, I actually remember this now, I would actually watch, and I'd be like, okay, at some point, like, the sun is just going to blink on because it's just going to peek over the edge. It's going to blink on. Like, nighttime to daytime should happen pretty instantaneously. Or maybe not. Maybe not. But I think that sunrises, daytime to nighttime, does happen quite gradually. It's not a blink. It's a very gradual thing. And you might say, oh, that's because, only the top of the sun is above the horizon at first, and it's just a little bit of light. And then the more sun comes up, and then it's more light, and then finally it's all the light. Yeah, that's totally possible. But you'll notice that there's a gradual transition from night to day. So my point to your question is, if the Earth is flat and the sun is smaller and closer, then maybe, just maybe, the reason you can't see just this big wall of light, as you're saying, why can't you just see this big wall of light? Maybe that's because it's very gradual. From dark to light is gradual. And on a globe, it happens gradually because it's just peaking little by little over the curvature, supposedly. So then you get gradual light until it's a full sunrise and the sun's out and it's daytime. But if it's a flat Earth, the flat Earth equivalent of that gradual rising sun from dark to light, gradual thing, the flat Earth equivalent would be the fact that the sun is smaller and that the light is local, and as it comes towards you, it's gradually going from night to day. You're gradually getting immersed in more sunlight. Now, I don't know if that answers your specific point about half the Earth being lit up, but let me see, the line of sight of something that bright to light up half a disk. I don't know. From the darkest point, still can't see something so bright that it's literally lighting up the other half of the Earth. No, no, man. No, I don't. It's like you're assuming if someone's holding a flashlight in a dark hallway and they're a million miles away, that you should be able to see that flashlight from a million miles away. Why would you assume? First of all, there's atmospheric particles, and after a million miles, those atmospheric particles are basically a fucking wall of matter, obscuring what's in the distance. So, why would you assume that on the flat Earth model, a small local light lighting up one half of the Earth? And you have to understand that it's hard because you have to go from the globe model to the flat model. Again, if you're asking how is it that one half of the Earth is lit up, it's gradually lit up, bro. It's gradually lit up. And the thing is, I think that's also true on a globe model. It's also gradual along the curve. Just like as the sun supposedly slowly rises over the curvature for the sunrise, and only a little bit of the sun appears, and it's only a little bit light, and then more sun appears, and then it's much more light, there's a gradual bleed off from dark to night. A gradual bleed off, whether it's the flat model or it's the fucking globe model. So maybe that bleed off is what you're not seeing and why you can't see it. I don't know. I think I've spent enough time on that. I don't know. David says, wouldn't the dark half see the light source using line of sight in a flat Earth? No, because you're assuming because the sun is smaller and local. And I know you're saying, but it can't be that small if it's lighting up the entire half of the planet. But even on a globe, because a lot of times you'll see like a depiction of what daytime looks like on a globe. And they'll just show a bunch of light rays smacking one half consistently. But just as with the sunrise, you're only seeing at the very top at first, and it's not that light. And then you're seeing more, and then it's more light. It's a gradual bleed off over the curvature. So if you're on a flat Earth, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Just make sure. We got Sean Perez with a $5 super chat. Says, take a plate and your phone. Turn your phone flashlight on and hold it an inch above the plate. Move the light in a circle. Repeat. Okay, because I'm bored, and you know what? Might as well fucking eat shit. Thing is, I don't have a really totally dark room here. Actually, I can get pretty dark. Should I do this experiment right now? Feeling a little lazy right now. I should do this experiment though. Let's just fucking do it. Let's just because why not? Because it was a super chat. So how could I not oblige the super chat and do the goddamn experiment right now? Let's do it. Who knows? I don't even know if this guy's like pro globe or pro flat or what, but we're gonna go do it. Actually, I don't have that much battery, but I think I'll last. Dark. What's up, bitches? Okay. We're gonna do the experiment now. So let's see. Obviously, this isn't to scale, and this is very informal, but it's just for fun. So let's see what happens. Because I have a perfect little plate here. Okay. We have our plate. You guys see the plate? There it is. Woo. I'm gonna set it down here on the table. We have our phone. We have our flashlight. All right. Now, according to Mr. Super Chat, let's make sure that I got the angle good here. Oh, fuck. Actually, let me do something. Let me do something right here. Let's make this wider. There we go. Just make sure it's in the center there. So the super chat says, take a plate and your phone, turn your flashlight on, hold it an inch above the plate, move the light in a circle. Move the light in a circle. Okay, well, let's just fucking see what happens because he asked for it. Now we're getting a lot of weird like lens flaring. This flashlight's so bright that it's coming out really weird over here. But anyways, it's hard to see because you're getting all this extra flaring. Let me see if... Yeah, the webcam is picking up all this weird shit. But anyways, I mean, you can't tell here. I mean, it's dark on this side. And it's actually, there's more light spilling over. Let me try to recreate it. This is pretty much what it looks like for me here. And interestingly enough, you can kind of see a bleeding point here. You can see a bleeding point where the light gradually goes into total darkness over here. And this is on a flat surface. So, when you take into account maybe the law of perspective, the way that if you look down a long hallway, things converge into a point off in the distance, maybe it doesn't take very long for the human eyeball to blur and distort light and the sun out of your line of sight. It doesn't take long looking down a long hallway for the hallway to appear as if the floor and the ceiling and the walls are all rising and moving. So anyways, random informal experiment. Thank you, Mr. Super Chat. I don't even know what that proves or not. I think it's a pro flat Earth point, but yeah, let me. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's so yeah. I just think. Get this back here. Yeah. So yeah. I just don't know if your point about, oh, you should be able to see the sun and the line of sight and half the earth is lit up. I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily a big refutation of the flat earth. Put that fucker up there. All right. I can't believe we're still here, man. What time is it? Fucking 3. I'm gonna have to re-upload this as a separate flat earth video for sure, because most people aren't even gonna know there's flat earth content in this video, you know, given the original live stream. I don't know what's going on, bro. All I know is that I'm being a true skeptic here, asking real questions. All right, that there. Chat up here. Hey, thank you, Sean. Appreciate the super chat. And make sure I didn't miss out any other super chats or questions. I used to work for Dish Network. I can assure you satellites are real. Maybe they are. They're just like flying around in the fucking air. Whoa! What the fuck? Sorry, I just got news that my friend's missing cat has suddenly reappeared. What the heck? The cat was missing for like 5 days and it just re-emerged all of a sudden. Cats are so crazy, man. I think I'm gonna just start live streaming 24/7. Should I start live streaming 24/7? I think I'm gonna start live streaming 24/7. What do you guys think? Should I live stream 24/7? That's crazy. Windows logo says yes, 24/7. I want to see you sleep. All right, so I'm definitely not live streaming 24/7. Don't want to see you shit, so no. I could put cameras up in like every goddamn room, so that would invade some people's privacy. So I might have to turn it off sometimes. Editing sucks. Oh, yeah, motherfuckers. Yeah, okay, guys. Well, look, I think we've gone long enough here. Topped it off with a nice, big, fat, informal flat Earth experiment on a plate. The debate continues. Private attorney who insists that he used to work for some dish company. He says he assures you that satellites are real. Yeah. Unless you're compartmentalized and you don't necessarily know exactly what you're operating with. Private attorney says, we knew the Earth was a globe long before NASA came along. Yeah, we were also very convinced that Eratosthenes' experiment with the well, the stick, and the shadows separated from Alexandria and Syene, we used to confidently know that that was proof of a globe, and according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, Eratosthenes' experiment is insufficient to prove the shape of the Earth. Because two wells or two sticks or just a well and a stick, the way Eratosthenes did it, it's not enough, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. He said it on a recent episode of Star Talk. Go find the video on YouTube. So we known for a long time that it was the globe. Yeah, we knew it. We were so certain it was the globe. But one of the hallmark experiments by Eratosthenes has now been admitted insufficient to prove actual curvature. His experiment needed a third well. That's all Tyson was saying. What do you mean, that's all? That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And yet Globers use that for hundreds of years, like a whole goddamn 1,000 years. That was used, but it didn't prove anything. It was not sufficient to prove it. You need 3 wells, or 3 sticks, or 3 obelisks, whatever the hell you're using. That's not all Tyson was saying. And if you go back and you watch Carl Sagan's episode of Cosmos, where he covers Eratosthenes, Carl Sagan says, I'm going to slightly paraphrase, I don't remember the exact wording, but he literally basically said, the only explanation for Eratosthenes' experiment was that the Earth is curved. That's not the only explanation. It could easily work on a flat Earth if you change your assumption about how far away the sun is. Supermonk85 says, unsubbing, you're boring. Okay, well then if you're unsubbing, then I'm going to ban you. Let's see here. Hide user, add mount, put user in timeout, remove. Maybe I'll just go to your channel later and ban you. Because I know you're infatuated. You're infatuated by me, but you're also a hater troll. So you have to swear to God that I'm boring. The reason why this comment bothers me is because I'm pretty sure it's just sometimes people get so miserable and angry that they just go out and they try to attack people. And I just think it's such a weak and sad place to be. Like, we all know that you're just angry and hurt, so you're just trying to hurt others. We know this. But look, if you're unsubbing, and I've already given you more validation than you've gotten in the last few years of your life, I'm just going to have to smash the button, man, because you said you're unsubscribing anyway, so. Anyways, so, yeah. David Savage is still going on with this whole thing about the light source. Between the way your eyes work, looking down a hallway, the law of perspective, the tendency of perspective, whatever the fuck you want to call it, between that, between the sun being small and local and getting far away, I'm not so baffled as you are by that question. I'm not that baffled by it. I can see it happening. Yeah, why would you have to waste time telling everyone you're unsubbing? Because again, it's a way to lash out and try to hurt people. What do they say? Hurt people hurt. We have been blessed with an extra long lecture today. Joe Rogan, eat your heart out. Well, I mean, we've been here for, I don't know, maybe almost 3 hours now, so. Oh yeah, probably. Private attorney says you would see the sun through a telescope at night if you can see other stars at night that are further away and much dimmer and smaller. Interesting. You know, that's honestly that's a question I have. Have any flat earthers ever tried to just zoom their telescope in on the sun? You know, they like to zoom in on boats that supposedly went over the horizon. Where are the flat earthers zooming in on the sun? Maybe you can't because the light on a lens will fuck the lens up. It's sunlight. I don't know, direct sunlight. I don't know. There's always an excuse. There's always a counter argument from the flat earthers. Um, would you see the sun through a telescope? You would see it at night. Uh, that's an interesting one. I find that interesting. Someone needs to do that experiment. Maybe they haven't done it because it might debunk them. I don't know. You know, David, I think that we should probably be able to see the sun through a telescope, through some type of enhanced visual aid, a zoom lens or a telescope or something. I think that we should be able to, at least further away than once nighttime starts. Um, However, I still think there still might be a vanishing point. I really do. I still think that even if it's flat and even if you can zoom in with a telescope, I still think that eventually there could be a vanishing point just because of the atmosphere. Now, yeah, the sun appears to be quite powerful, so how much atmosphere does it really take to block out such a bright light? It's a good question. I don't know. I should do a live debate with the Globeers correspondent. I mean, I don't mind debating. I don't mind debating somebody who thinks it's the globe. I'm in no way an expert though on flat Earth. So yeah, I would love to have a conversation with somebody who die hard believes the globe. But they might have more to educate me on than I would educate them. I don't know. I don't know, David. I disagree. I don't agree with your whole no vanishing point from something that powerful that lights up that much. I don't agree just because the light would be gradual. I mean, yeah, I just don't. The light would be gradual. The light, just like night and day is gradual on a globe, with the sun slowly coming up and a little bit of light and more light. It goes from dark to light gradually. Um, I can see that the light, if the light is local, it's gradual. It's not just light, 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 and then suddenly dark. Just like on the globe, you get gradual night to day. With a small sun, you get gradual dark to light. If it's a small local sun, it gets gradual dark to light, light to dark. There's a gradual separation point. And if it's dark where you are, that's because the light is no longer reaching you. Which makes sense. Because if the sun is much smaller than the giant sun we're told it is, then its light isn't going to reach the whole thing. Just like if you stand with a flashlight in a dark tunnel and you're freaking a million miles away, you're not going to see the guy with a small light. It's not going to reach. I really like David's thought experiment, but I don't know if it's like some. I feel like there's still alternative explanations there. Private attorney says, but we can see the other stars. Why not the sun, which is a star? Good question. Um, why can we see the stars? Well, maybe the reason we can see the stars is because we only see stars at night. And, or well, we certainly see more of them at night. So the stars aren't necessarily that bright. The stars only appear when the sun isn't there, and then they stand out much more clearly. So you're asking, oh, but if the stars are so much further away, why can't we see the stars? If the stars are so much smaller and further away, why can't we see those? But we can't see the big spotlight sun. Well, part of the reason you can only see the stars is because it's nighttime and there's no giant spotlight sun blotting out the distant, weak little stars. Yeah, I mean, just think about it. The stars come out at night. You see the stars because maybe they're not as bright as the sun. And that's why you see stars at nighttime. David, man. But we still see the source from the darkest point. Again, I feel like you're just assuming. You keep hammering this point. I've already addressed it. I mean, I know I haven't given like the best answer. I'll give you that. But you kind of sound like someone who's just having one of those, flat Earth cognitive dissonance moments, where you're coming off like you're more terrified at the possibility that the globe is a hoax than you are just being open-minded. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just going off of a comment, so I could be wrong. It's just a vibe I'm getting. But again, bro, if the sun is much smaller, look, I agree. A big-ass telescope should probably be able to zoom in on the sun. But at the same time, if the sun is much smaller and closer, it's a small local spotlight, bro. Eventually, it's going to just disappear out of your eyesight. Either a combination of perspective, plus it's small and distant. Hey, we got to give respect to David. He's in there and he's on the battlefield, so we got to give respect to David. Somebody asked, why is the moon a globe? That's funny, isn't it? People always say that, well, the moon's a globe, bro. Yeah, but we've never seen the dark side of the moon. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? The moon is a globe, but we never get to see the dark side of the moon. Fucking famous album by Pink Floyd named after that phenomenon. The dark side of the moon. Hey man, the globe is a moon, bro. The globe is a moon. The moon is a globe, bro. How can the earth be flat? And yet you never see the other side of the supposed globe. You never see the other side of the supposed globe moon. That's hilarious. Another weird coincidence about the moon. It's already coincidental enough that the sun is... The reason the sun and the moon look exactly the same during a total solar eclipse, the exact same size, is because the sun happens to be 400 times further away from us than the moon is. But the moon coincidentally also happens to be 400 times smaller. As if that wasn't coincidence enough. The other coincidence is that the moon is in tidal lock with Earth. Which is why no matter where you are on the fucking Earth, you only see one side of the moon. You never get to see the dark side. No matter where you are on the planet. For as long as recorded history. You only get to see one side of the fucking moon. Oh, but the moon is a globe. Ah, the moon is a globe. It just doesn't act like a globe in the sense that you can see the other fucking side of it. Even though we're spinning and the moon is spinning, these globes are spinning. You just can't see the other side of the globe. Fucking weird coincidences, bro. Either these are big coincidences and flat earthers are just capitalizing on these weird coincidences to push their theory, or there's something's up with the universe. Something's going on here. The dark side of the moon. Fucking give me a break. Hey man, I'm not triggered, dude. I'm answering your question passionately. Don't take it personally. Ha! Somebody's asking, what is the motive for the globe hoax? I went over that in like a 20-minute rant a long time ago, like an hour ago. Go back maybe about an hour and you might find it. Fixing that mustache, you know, you gotta get that mustache right. Anyways. David's using so many exclamation marks. It just sounds like somebody who's having one of those flat earth cognitive dissonance meltdowns. No, it has to be a globe. No! Small or not, we'd see the source from our dark side. I don't disagree with you, David, that we'd probably be able to zoom in on the sun with the telescope. I agree that probably would happen. That probably would happen. And I'd like to see if somebody's done an experiment where they try to zoom in on the sun. Flat earthers should do it. Maybe I'll do it. Private attorney says, look at the flat earth model. It puts the stars behind the sun. Well, that's fine. But the point is that you only really see stars when the sun, on the globe, you only really see stars when the sun has disappeared over the curve. And then you can see the stars because the sun is such a bright light that it's blotting out your view of these distant and dimmer star lights. So the sun has to be gone. Similar to like if you live in a big city, you can't really see that much stars because of the light pollution. But if you go out into the fucking middle of the woods somewhere, isolated from city lights, you can see so many more stars. If you're out in the middle of the ocean on a boat, an ocean of stars up in the sky. But you only see these at night because the sun is so bright that it blots out those dim, distant starlights. So you're saying, look at the flat earth model, it puts the stars behind the sun. And your original point was, well, why can't, you know, if the stars are smaller, dimmer, and further away than the sun, then why can't we see stars at night? But we can't see the sun, the flat earth sun, that's bigger than the stars, closer and brighter. Well, the reason you can see the dimmer, distant stars is because it's nighttime and the sun has moved out of your way. So it's not like the reason you can see all those stars is because they're so bright and easy to see. Just like you should easily be able to see the sun. No, you can only see the stars in the absence of the sunlight, for the most part. So your original point was, if I can see the stars at night, why can't I see the sun through a telescope if I were to zoom in? Or why can't I see it in the distance? The difference is that when the sun's in the distance, it's nighttime where you are, and you can actually see the stars. It's kind of like, it's kind of like if you're driving. I've noticed this in my car. When you're driving in the middle of the day, the dashboard on your car, where the miles per hour is and the gasoline tank meter is, those little dashboard things in front of your car when you're driving with the miles per hour and all the indicators, when you have the lights in your car off, those lights are actually really bright. But when you turn the light in your car on, because the presumption, the car is designed to assume that if you turn your car lights on, it's nighttime outside. The brightness of the display light is actually much less